Knife laws are dumb. Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here, coming at you from the KnifeCenter. Welcome to KniFAQ, episode 267 of the series where I answer all your questions, sharp or dull. This week, we're helping some folks navigate some knife laws in our non-lawyerly, not legally binding opinions.
We're not lawyers.
But what we do is we get your questions for this series from the comment section below, try to answer them the best I can, and Thomas, behind the camera, makes snarky comments.
Venturi effect.
I should know what that is, and I probably do, but I'm drawing a blank at the moment. First question today comes from anonymous user BP9. No. What are you trying to hide, man? Sometimes I'm forced to travel through the domains of the unenlightened. I'm looking for a non-locking folder with a blade or blades less than 2.5 inches. So far, I've looked at the M390 Vulpes from Fox and the 14C28N Beg slip joints. I'd love your thoughts on these, plus any other suggestions you may have as alternatives. Sure. Well, let's talk about the Vulpes first. It is kind of amazing that you can get this particular knife right here, Italian-made slip joint blade, single blade M390 steel, just over 2 inches long, for less than $50. This is like $46 on the site right now with brass handles. More expensive versions exist. Multi-tool versions of this exist, but this is a sub $50 M390 blade. And for that, it's got a lot going for it. Stainless, great edge retention. You got it. And the fit and finish is, quite good. Works well. You've got easy deployment with the blade cutout there. Makes it a lot easier than a simple nail nick, especially if you have less healthy fingernails. I can think of some people in my life who can't open a traditional slip joint without aid. This is not going to be a problem right here. Very cool. And I think classy with the brass too, personally. Some of the Beg slip joints are even classier. This is part of the Steelcraft series. The JVO, it's a Jared Van Otterloo collaborations. Drop point small slip joint right here. 14C, 2.375 inch blade, so 2 3/8, 55 and some change. So it's not going to win the edge retention wars if you compare it directly to this Vulpes right here. But I would argue, well, in my opinion, it looks classier. More gentlemanly, perhaps. I tend to prefer the utility of a drop point blade, but I honestly wouldn't have a problem with either of these if, this is what I was restricted to. And the fit and finish on these is quite good as well. Nice and snappy. Nail nick instead of the cutout, but not too hard to open nonetheless. Great little knife. However, I personally wouldn't reach for either of these in your situation. To me, this would be a good companion to something else I might have access to. But if I'm traveling through the lands of the uninitiated, where I have to have a 2.5 inch non-locking blade, I want one that has more built-in safeties than either of these two. Because of course the danger of a slip joint, because it's been around so long, most of us probably know how to mitigate this risk factor, but they can close if you're doing less than optimal things with the knife. Of course, even a lock can fail. But this is actually my knife that I choose to carry in said situations that you mentioned, because I have had to live through them as well. This is the Lil Native Slip It, or slip joint from Spyderco. I've given it a Lynch deep carry pocket clip. We carry Lynch clips as well, because it's the clip that it comes with it is bright and shiny and reflective, and that's not so subtle. Discretion is the better part of valor sometimes, so the deeper carry and less flashy clip wins out in my book. These are about $169. You've got S30V steel, 2.42 inch on the blade. You do lose some of that, however, because of this guarded finger choil right here, which is that safety mechanism, if you want to call that, that most other slip joints lack. Because you're holding it as part of the handle. Your finger is right there. So if the blade were to close, hopefully your finger should arrest the closing motion of the blade, and keep the edge away from your fingers. It works quite well, and I will take the reduction in sharpened edge for this particular use case scenario. I want the greater safety and the ability to use the edge that's there even more heavily than I would feel comfortable using a smaller knife here, although the edge is actually not too dissimilar between these two now that I'm looking at it. Let me compare it to the Fox. You have more, only slightly more sharpened length on the Fox, but maybe not if you count the curvature of the Lil Native. Anyway, this obviously feels like a much more substantial knife for those times when you might want a more substantial carry, but there are regulations in place against it. If you want to carry what you carry anyway, don't make me stop you. You can
not legal advice.
We're adults. You can make your own decisions, and some things that comes with decisions, you have to live with the consequences sometimes. But I think the Lil Native Slip It is great. It is my personal choice. This is my personal knife that I have taken on areas where I know I'm going to be in this situation, or if I don't know, like if I'm going on a road trip and I just don't know every locality that I'm going through, what their laws might be, it's not a bad idea to have something like this. It is significantly more expensive than your other two picks, so I have a more budget option here for you. Civivi and Ben Peterson just came out with the Baby Banter slip joint. You can get it in this very friendly blue color, as well as a wood option for a little more class. These are about $63, 2.34 on the blade, Nitro V steel. You've got that finger choil there for safety. I prefer the guarded finger choil of the Lil Native compared to the unguarded finger choil of the Baby Banter, but take that under advisement. I'll take this over this for this type of situation any day. Deep carry pocket clip, reversible, affordable, good quality. That would be the budget pick there. Go forth. Hope that helps. And it's a shame that we can't just carry what we want. Chavy 07. Chavy 07. Hey, DCA and Thomas. I'm visiting our nation's capital in a few months and looking for something to carry. With the understanding that you are not lawyers, what do you guys carry if you visit the capital? Sub 3-inch Swiss Army knife seems like the obvious choice, but I'd like something one-hand opening, like the compactness and layout of the Victorinox Wader and the Gerber armbar cork, but they don't have clips. Also, sub $40 would be preferred. Does anything match that? Please help. You guys rule. Thank you. It's a lot of exclamation points. Thank you. I do have some options for you, and I'm going to start by showing you some of the things that I have carried in Washington, D.C., because I used to actually work in Washington, D.C. a long time ago, thankfully. I do not miss working in Washington, D.C., if I'm honest. That should surprise hardly anyone, I would think. But the go-to spec I was always worried about was that 3-inch mark. And it's frustrating because I think there should be very few, you should be able to carry what you want with very few exceptions to that. Unfortunately, there are a lot of exceptions on the books to that these days. So 3-inch non-locking.
I take exception to those exceptions.
I do too, but consequences can happen. Anyway, I'm not trying to belabor the point. Let's help out Mr. Chavy here. I'm assuming it's a Mr., but let's go. So my go-to for a long time was the Spyderco Para 3. Again, similar to what the Lil Native offers, this offers a more substantial experience than you typically get given the constraints, 3 inches in this case. It doesn't actually have to be non-locking as I am used to understanding it. Again, we're not lawyers. Things may have changed. I don't think they've changed. But this gets you a more of a bigger knife experience while remaining true to the letter of the law right there. You got a 3-inch blade. This one's actually a sprint run from a few years ago that I acquired after my time working in Washington, D.C. So you can't get this exact version anymore, but G10 and S45 VN for the steel comes in just under $200 nowadays. Way outside your $40 budget. Don't worry, I'm going to get to that. I also put a Lynch deep carry clip on this as well for similar reasons. It had that bright, flashy, the spoonbill clip on it. So going for something a little more subtle there. When I came out in partnership with CGRB with the Maximal design, my design here, I switched to this. It does not give you as much of a full-size experience that the Para 3 brings, but it's full-size enough for me, and it is a little more polite. As especially if you go with like the blue G10 version or the gray G10 version out there. So a little more subtle, but still offers a lot of the same stuff. It can do everything you need for just general purpose stuff, in my opinion. And they're like $50 too, which doesn't stink. Nowadays, when I'm in DC, or the reasons I have for being in DC the most revolve around like more formal events, weddings, etc. So I need my gentleman's knife there, and I carry another knife of my own, the Bolero, 3-inch blade, the carbon fiber one especially. The balance on these is great. They're about $250, S30V as well. They're just good. They're gorgeous. I love the way these turned out. All of these, however, aren't exactly what you're looking for, but I just felt like doing show and tell because people want to know every once in a while what I do carry. So we don't do regular pocket checks, so this is a way to kind of share some of that. For your budget though, $40 is actually a perfect amount. Because one of the things you're going to have to worry about if you're just here on a visit, as opposed to navigating the streets for other purposes, is you're probably going to touristy attractions. Knives aren't going to be allowed in many of those places, especially like museums and such like that. And actually, I didn't grab one of them, but I should have done. The next tool, K30. I'll get to what I should have grabbed here in just a second. I love this little guy, and it is $40. I use one of these a lot around my house. I get home, I put on a pair of, take off the work clothes, and I usually throw this in my pocket for going around the house. You got a 14C blade, crossbar lock, sub 3 inches. There you go. Works great. And you've got a bunch of multi-tool stuff as well. You've got double-sided mini bit holder. You can bring extra bits if you like. There is a bottle opener right there. Big pair of scissors, which is really great. What else? You've got the flathead / nail file, and on the back you have got the awl. And there's a pair of tweezers in there. I always forget about that because I don't use them too often. Next tool, K30, is a great little unit. The other thing you could do is get like the Roxxon Flex, or the Flex Companion or the Flex Companion Mini. You can have a blade in it if you want, or you can set them up to be bladeless, which could be a good option depending on what you're going for. But yeah, next tool, K30, $40. If you wind up having to lose it for some reason, it's $40 at least. So there you go. Hope that helps.
And try to spend a day in the Commonwealth.
Yeah. Call in an order at the KnifeCenter. Travel an hour south of DC and come pick it up. And just hang out. There's a lot of history around Fredericksburg too. If you don't know, we're in Fredericksburg, Virginia. Next question. CRFU. Hey guys, been watching for years. Me and the boys will be doing a motorcycle trip through the Netherlands, Germany, Belgium, and Austria. As Americans, we get to carry whatever, but we're not trying to get arrested by the East German secret police.
East German, are they time traveling too?
It could be, yeah. Do you know of any fixed blades or folders that we can legally carry? I know knives are spooky to Europeans. Danke. Again, this is a tough one because the laws between all the countries in Europe are a little bit different, and laws in certain locations can be a little bit different. And I don't know all of them. It's impossible for me to know all of them. And the Netherlands especially, I think, have some pretty strict ones. So what I might normally go for, like if I were going to Germany, I do know this one. You can have something like the little native slip it, because you can have a one-hand opening blade, but if it is one-hand opening, it cannot have a lock. Or you can have a locking blade, but it can't be one-hand opening. Knife laws are dumb. I hope that doesn't get me in trouble with any sort of legal whatever. It shouldn't. It shouldn't, but so that's, so the little native slip it in most of Germany, probably. I don't know. Should
East Germany, we don't
be fine. East Germany, we don't know. So here's what I would probably do if I were in your situation. I'd learn to ride a motorcycle. I've never actually done that. So that would be my first bit of like prepping that I would do.
Figure out which side of the road they're on.
That's a good point. Yep, definitely do that. I would go with the aforementioned Roxxon Flex series. And I would go with either the Flex Titan or the full-size Flex, the pliers-based tools. The Flex Titan is a little bit bigger, But the reason I like this is because it gives you access to the very large set of scissors right here. And if you're gonna set this up, oh, I should back up. I would swap the tools out on these. This is a modular tool system. It's very easy to swap the tools in and out. I would set it up to be a bladeless carry. If this is bladeless, at least you've got the big set of scissors. You could go with the standard flex pliers-based tool, but you won't be able to have scissors this big. But it will be a little more convenient to carry. Comes with a D2 blade, but that's very easy to swap out, as mentioned. Pop those two levers, and you can lift that, and the blade comes right out. And they do sell options that fit this that aren't edges. You can get a big file. There's like a multi-tool arm on it as well. Check out the options on the site. Which way is this going here? I lost track. This way, right? Yeah, got to be this way. So that is super easy. And then all the interior or opposite side tools, they all fan out. And as you can see, there are some edged tools in here. I would swap this around. The reason I'm saying go with this is because you could tune this, set this up with exactly the tools you need to keep your bike on the road if something goes wrong. If you want to change out the tools in these, super easy. Push that all the way back. All the way back. Oh, I guess I got to open that to make room for the little thing to open. Tool comes out. And there's a bunch of tools or a bunch of implements available individually at the KnifeCenter. You could pick out exactly the ones you need for your hog. If it's a hog or your rig or whatever bike people call their bikes. Seth's not here. I can't ask him. Seth's a bike person.
Could be a scooter.
Set up one of these and then carry something like an open hill. The number 6 right here, sub 3-inch blade, does have the locking ring, however. Maybe go with one of the non-locking models, like the number 5. I think the number 5 is as big as they get before they transition to the locking ring right there. Swiss Army knives could be a good option too. Maybe like when in doubt, throw a Swiss Army Classic on the key ring. You still got a little pen blade and stuff there. Again, nothing in this video should be construed as actual legal advice, or even, don't even take our advice as advice, maybe. That's probably the safest thing for all of us. But these are...
Take our advice and roll the dice.
There you go. These are the things I personally, as David Anderson, not as an employee or representative of KnifeCenter, would do if I were in your situation. We clear? All right. Let's go do the lightning round for today, which is only one question, which comes from Dipapikaios, probably. Is there a reason why the Swedge on a clip point fixed blade isn't fully sharpened? You'd figure that it'd give the added functionality of having an additional small hawkbill. In a word, because knife flaws are dumb. That's more than a word, but... this cold steel Laredo buoy has a sharpened Swedge, and yes, it gives advantages. You could on the reverse stroke, you could slash with that side, whether you're doing gardening work with it. Or yeah, you could get in and cut this way. But this is now considered a double-edged blade, and double-edged blades are legislated differently in different parts of the country. So for a long time, especially in a retail environment, you didn't see a lot of double-edged blades for sale because you'd have to figure out where they could or couldn't ship it. It's less of an issue now, perhaps, but that's why. Why don't you see more of it? Because knife flaws. All right, unfortunate. Let's get to our most final question of the day, shall we? Which is, of course, our most seriousest question of the day, which comes from John Mai 357. I have a question. Why is it how when it goes to be? So this is why not all laws are dumb. Somebody graduated this guy with sentence structure like that.
Somebody gave this person a computer.
Somebody allowed us. So if I were to invent a knife law and you were to submit a question like that, I'm sorry, man, like you just got to use the trainer of that Laredo. That's all we can trust you with. That'd be a knife law I could get behind. Anyway, that's all we've got for today, folks. Keep your questions coming. Keep your most seriousest questions coming as well. And let me know what you would do for any of the aforementioned situations, these travel conundrums, and what's your favorite dumbest knife law? drop that in the comments. I got one. My favorite, just a funny aside here, Ocean City, Maryland, did a thing where at the like on a Friday night they rammed through announced and rammed through some new law that made. Okay, I'm gonna get this wrong. Assisted opening knives were declared some sort of public nuisance, and yet switchblades weren't. And then they made it illegal to own, carry, transport, or transfer them. So and this came up on a Friday, Saturday morning, it was like done. And so what if you had one already? What could you do with it? Nothing legally. And yet you could walk down the boardwalk with a machete strapped to your back legally. You might get, a talking to, but they might ask you to leave. But there's nothing illegal about that. In my non-expert opinion, as not a representative of KnifeCenter.
Because that's Ocean City's only public nuisance.
Throw your favorite dumb knife laws down in the comments. Maybe
Ridicule them appropriately.
Ridicule them. Be respectful. I will say that.
Ish.
YouTube has a filter. If you're laced with profanity, YouTube will just delete your comment. We don't control that. So there you go. Anyway, if you want to get your hands on any of the knives here on the table, check out the links in the description, which will take you to KnifeCenter.com. And don't forget about all those things I usually say at this point in the video, huh? That's all for now. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center. That's Thomas behind the camera. And we are signing out. See you next time. Do we sign out or sign off? I don't know.
Log.
Bye.
Timber.